Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Carson Nielsen with the Live Realty Group. I'm here with my business partner, Viviana and
Hi.
Today, we are going to talk about buyer's agent's fee. There's a lot of misunderstanding on how we get paid, and we want to clarify that.
Yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding, and I think this misunderstanding is stemming from the actual agents on social media that are saying, hey, it's free to use a buyer agent.
Yeah. Hey, work with me, I'm free. It's not true. Not
free.
true at all.
Not free.
No. When you are out there looking at houses and you're searching for this house, searching that for that house, you end up working with an agent, and that agent should have a discussion with you on how they get paid, and they should have a discussion on their services. And in that document, it's called an exclusive buyer's agreement. It should outline how we get paid. The fees are never structured across the board. Fees are always negotiable. Agent A might charge this amount. Agent B might charge this amount.
Yep.
Agent C might charge this amount. And then where it's disclosed what the amount is, it has actually written into the contract that you as the buyer give us permission to ask for our fee to be paid for from the selling brokerage.
Yes, exactly. So the seller brokerage will dole out that money, and it gets divided up a certain amount of ways, and then we end up getting paid from the proceeds of the sale of the house. So we don't get paid until a buyer closes on a house.
Right. So let's go a little bit further into how those funds are transferred through who and whatnot. When I, as a listing agent, go in to sit down with my seller, I also disclose that I am charging this amount, and of that amount, we are going to offer this amount to a buyer's agent.
Your brokerage charges that amount, and then your brokerage pays the buyer.
Right. Yes.
Agent.
Yes. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
So that is, in a roundabout way, how we get paid.
Yeah. So as a seller and as a buyer, you should know exactly the dollar amount of brokerage fees you're paying out and what you're receiving and how they get paid out.
Right.
So, like you said, Section 8.4 of the buyer agency agreement says that the buyer authorizes the seller's brokerage to pay us. And then in Section 8.9, it also says that your buyer agent, is not accepting any other fees above and beyond what they get paid in this contract.
No gifts, no cars, no
knives, no $100 bills in a thank you card, no nothing.
Yeah, no exchange of services.
So buyers typically can't afford to pay an agent's fees out of pocket.
Right. They're already out there. They got to save up anywhere from 5 to 20%, sometimes 25%, depending on what they're buying. Yep. So that's a large chunk of cash that they need to have flexible. And if they have to pay a buyer's agent out of pocket, that's really going to shrink their buying power.
Yeah. They might not be able to afford that house with the garage.
Right.
So that's why indirectly we get paid by the buyer through the proceeds of the sale of the house.
Right.
Because that frees up the cash after the sale is done for us to get paid.
Right. So in a roundabout way, it is the buyer who is paying us because it's them who are transferring the large funds to the seller. Once the seller receives those funds, it is divvied up between the participating parties.
A bank would never lend extra money for a buyer to be able to pay the fees.
Yes. That is why the fees come from the seller, go to the selling brokerage, then the selling brokerage disperses the funds accordingly.
Yeah. So in the end, the buyer pays.
100%.
The funds are coming from the proceeds of the sale of the house. They're not coming from the seller, which leads us into our next topic.
So the lawsuit in the States is a class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. And what they are claiming is that sellers are overpaying, that sellers are paying all these fees.
I really wonder what these conversations were like. Like when the listing agent goes to the seller's house and the seller says, okay, thanks for your presentation and the valuation of my house. What are your fees?
Right. So
what was that conversation like?
The agent, more than likely, because the lawsuit went through, was probably, hey, we charge 6%.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't disclosed that a portion of that is going to the buying agent.
Yeah. And this 6%, the media is making a frenzy out of this, making it seem like 6% was like a price fix.
Yeah.
That agents were colluding to say, okay, every brokerage is going to charge 6%. We'll drive up the prices of commissions, and 6% is not a thing. Not that I know of.
No, it's not a thing. The realtor fees have always been negotiable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the common theme here is that people think it's just 6%.
Well,
But it's
that's
always,
what the media is telling
Yes.
them now, is that, well, they're not going to be able to charge us 6% anymore.
Right.
And it's like, where did this number even come from? Everybody charges a different thing.
Right. So there's another portion of this lawsuit where it has to do with steering. So because it was saying that the cooperating brokerage is offering, let's say, for example, 2.5%, or maybe another brokerage is offering 1%, that agent would steer their clients to the houses that was offering a higher percentage. So now they've removed that disclosure of the cooperating fee completely from MLS.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to advertise on the MLS what you might get paid. So that's kind of a result of that. And I mean, the agent just has to call the other agent and say, hey, my buyer agreement says that I'm getting paid this. What is the seller offering
Right. So
to
then,
the cooperating brokerage?
Right. So then that becomes part of negotiating during the purchase of the property.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's also a copycat lawsuit in Canada that is tried to base it off of what happened in the US, except that Canadian laws are different and our paperwork is clear. And like we've said in this video, we do disclose our fee and all that kind of stuff. It needs to be disclosed. So, but this lawsuit is coming from the angle that there's price fixing.
Criminal price fixing.
Yeah. Saying that the brokerages are colluding amongst each other to establish a set price, which is completely false.
If you have 5 agents that come to your house and say, okay, this is what the valuation of your house I think is, and this is what I charge for my services, and everybody says the same thing,
Yeah.
that's not price fixing. That's just what we charge.
Right.
And you can always ask your selling agent, hey, are those fees negotiable?
Yeah.
Because they are.
They are negotiable.
Some people might not budge off of what they charge. Some people will. And then you have discount brokerages out there that will charge you a set fee. They might not give you a full range of services, but typically an agent will have a menu of services and you can pick tier A, tier B, tier C, and it comes with a different fee.
Right. And then you got to question yourself too. Like if an agent is willing to drop their price substantially like that, like what kind of value are you getting out of that agent? They can't even negotiate for their own best interest. What are they going to do for you? Right? Like, okay, I'm only going to charge you $1,000. How firm are they going to be to make you the most amount of money that they possibly can?
Yeah. Or if they're discounting just to get high volume,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to take care of you?
Are they going to be overwhelmed? Where's that? Like, how do you operate a business on a low income?
Yeah. What's your level of service?
Yeah.
But I mean, to each their own. For some people, that dollar amount is going to make or break
The sale of the home.
actual ability to sell their home.
Right.
So I get that too.
Yeah,
and that's fine. And I mean, do you always go in and pay the highest dollar amount for a service or product? I don't.
I mean, we always negotiate our prices.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we have to be flexible to help these people get out of a bad situation.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they just want to work with us and sometimes we're able to help them out.
Yeah.
So
we carry errors and omissions insurance for a reason, because there's a lot of legal stuff that happens during a transaction. Like this is one of the biggest purchases or sales of your existence.
yeah,
Right?
Most people for sure.
most people, housing is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of liability involved, and if you're not diligent and you're not thorough, like you got to be a good agent
So
to do this.
I want to touch point on this just really briefly. So many people think that a realtor just opens doors, and that's why they think they're overpaid. Mm-hmm. I have to say that if you think and you feel that your agent's overpaid, they probably haven't explained to you the moving parts and pieces that happen in a real estate transaction and how careful and how diligent you need to be. Like, it's not the same thing as just buying a car. Here's the money, here's the keys.
Yes, your agent is definitely supposed to guide you in the right direction. Like, how many times have we tried to get sellers back on track when they're like, yeah, I know I signed that agreement and I said I was going to fix this and that, and I said I was going to fix the flooring and paint that wall, but I'm just going to leave it. So if an agent can't communicate their value to a seller, and I'm a seller in a hot market,
Yeah.
why would I pay you more than Joe Blow down the street? My cousin just became an agent in 2022. I'm just going to use him because I know he's going to be cheaper.
Okay, so he's going to be cheaper, but does he understand the value of the market? We just saw this the other day. We had a client, we had a young agent, not on our team, in a different brokerage, establish, the purchase price or what he predicted to be the purchase price of a product at this point, and then that person happened to call one of our agents and be like, hey, second opinion, what's my house worth?
Yeah.
And we had a substantially higher valuation because of market knowledge and experience.
Yeah. An analogy, I guess,
Yeah.
is that as a business professional, I'm going to pay the best lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay the best accountant.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay the best professional who has the most experience, who is the most professional, in my opinion, to handle my business.
Well, you and I know that because we're in the business. Like, we understand that. But there's such a perception against realtors that we're not worth anything. And I think if people have that view, they just don't see the value in realtors. They've probably worked with.
They've probably never been bitten before, honestly. They probably have just skirted around. And there are some sellers that we know of where we're like, oh my God, that guy would have gotten sued for that.
Yeah.
How many times have we had to keep sellers on track when we know that, hey, man, you're in danger of breaching your contract? Like, you have to do this. You're bound to the terms of these contracts to perform X, Y, and Z for that buyer. If you don't, you are in danger of like being sued, or they're just not going to close on your house. Either way, it's going to be expensive. Like, you have to do this. There's different value in different agents.
There is.
I think.
Just like in any other industry, right? You don't always go to the cheapest mechanic because how good of a job are they going to do on your vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Like, cheap does not equal quality.
No. Expensive doesn't always equal quality either.
No, it doesn't. Anyways, we went a little bit off a topic there. We went way deeper than we intended, but we wanted to clarify what the buyer's commissions are, how they're paid. But this might help people realize that, hey, not all realtors are created equal, just like in any other business.
Yeah. So we want to know, have you ever used buyer agent and got bitten before? What was the issue? How did they handle it? How did you feel? What happened?
Not only buyer's agents, but let's talk about the selling agent too. Like, have you been use a seller agent and been bitten? That's a lot of the times that's where it's more obvious. Well, thanks everyone for watching our video. I hope this brought a little bit of light to real estate fees and how it works.
And if you have any questions, let us know. Bye.